On June 7, 1943, an 86-year-old man died alone in room 3327 on the 33rd floor of the New Yorker hotel. He was penniless. His only remaining companions were the city pigeons he fed from his window. That forgotten man was Nikola Tesla, and the bitter irony of his death is that the lights illuminating the hallways outside his door were running on his own invention. Born during a fierce lightning storm, the midwife called him a child of darkness, but his mother insisted he would be a ray of light. Over his lifetime, he secured more than 300 patents, providing the technology needed to pull the world out of the age of oil lamps. Tesla's brilliant mind was often a lonely one. When he was just 5 years old, his older brother died in a horse riding accident, a tragedy his parents never fully moved past. In his later years, Tesla withdrew almost entirely from society, choosing the isolation of hotel rooms over human connection. The trauma of his youth had evolved into a lifelong preference for solitude. How does the man whose patents established the global electrical grid end up dying in total, isolated darkness? Tesla's raw intelligence was evident early on. He could solve integral calculus entirely in his head, a skill his teachers frequently mistook for cheating. After finishing a 4-year university program in 3 years, he contracted cholera. His survival seemed entirely unlikely, until his father made a bedside promise. If Nikola survived, he could study engineering instead of joining the priesthood. He recovered and threw himself into his studies. But his brilliant academic record derailed during a physics class. Tesla pointed out serious mechanical flaws in the standard direct current motors of the era, arguing that alternating current would be vastly superior. His professor dismissed the idea entirely. The argument sparked a lifelong obsession that consumed him so deeply he suffered a nervous breakdown and dropped out of school. Then, while walking through a park, the complete solution hit him. This animation shows the precise concept he visualized, an engine driven by a rotating magnetic field. By alternating the direction of the electrical current, he could power a motor cleanly, without the heavy, sparking friction required by older designs. And because it was alternating current, it could be stepped up to high voltages, allowing power to be transmitted over massive distances with very little energy loss. It was a perfectly elegant solution. Armed with a letter of recommendation and exactly 4 cents in his pocket, Tesla arrived in America and met Thomas Edison. The two inventors immediately clashed. Tesla worked purely through precise physics-based formulas. Edison favored endless, messy trial and error. Still, Edison gave Tesla a nearly impossible task: fix and improve the failing DC generation plants. He offered a massive $50,000 bounty if Tesla succeeded. For months, Tesla worked from 10 a.m. to 5 a.m. the following morning, occasionally sleeping in the office. He solved the problem. But when Tesla asked for his money, Edison refused, telling him that he simply didn't understand an American joke. Tesla quit on the spot. This dynamic, pure scientific idealism colliding with ruthless commercial ambition, became the recurring template for the rest of his life. Leaving Edison plunged Tesla into immediate poverty. He tried starting his own lighting company, but his investors swindled him, taking control of his patents and leaving him completely broke. By 1886, the man who had mapped out the future of global electricity was digging ditches in New York for $2 a day. His fortunes reversed when industrialist George Westinghouse recognized the sheer brilliance of Tesla's AC motor. Westinghouse bought the patents and financed the project. The war of currents between Edison's DC empire and Tesla's AC vision officially began. Edison recognized that AC was vastly superior, so he attacked it through fear. He launched a massive smear campaign, staging public demonstrations where he used alternating current to electrocute dogs, horses, and even a female elephant. He wanted the public terrified of having Tesla's power in their homes, but engineering reality won out. Tesla designed 3 massive generators for the Niagara Falls project, successfully generating 500 horsepower of electricity. Keep in mind, half the globe was still reading by oil lamps. Tesla had proven that alternating current could power entire cities. Here is where we find Tesla's fatal flaw. The massive costs of the current war drove Westinghouse's company to the brink of bankruptcy. Westinghouse asked Tesla to temporarily reduce his royalties. Instead, Tesla tore up the contract completely. In a single motion, he forfeited an estimated $300 million. He valued the deployment of his technology and loyalty to the only man who had supported him over his own survival in a capitalist system. Every penny he earned went straight back into his next invention. He kept building. Tesla warned the medical community about the dangers of X-rays long before it was standard practice. In 1898, he demonstrated a remote-controlled boat. But his absolute focus was on building a massive, global wireless communication and power network, anchored by towering transmission stations. Then, a catastrophic fire ripped through his laboratory. Years of irreplaceable research, custom prototypes, and his mental sanctuary were reduced to ash. While Tesla scrambled to recover, Guglielmo Marconi used 17 of Tesla's own patents to successfully send the first radio message across the Atlantic. The laboratory fire, combined with predatory competitors stealing his intellectual property, stripped Tesla of his remaining financial backing. Investors pulled out. His grandest projects were permanently grounded, and his spirit finally broke. Tesla sued Marconi for patent infringement, but he wouldn't win the case until after his death. Which brings us back to the window of room 3327, looking out over an electrified Manhattan skyline. He funneled his earnings back into his research, considering the betterment of humanity a higher priority than his own financial security. While his life was defined by childhood trauma and repeated corporate betrayal, the engineering principles he established are still the foundation of the world's power distribution. Men like Edison and Marconi secured the bank accounts and the early headlines of the 20th century. But Nikola Tesla won the future. We are all living in his world.